My name is Michael Reese. I'm a multimedia artist, and most of my work is has photography at its base, but conceptual in nature. So my work connects to the exhibition, the gift, in terms of the history of hip hop. I, a lot of my work, I like to say that it's working from a historical perspective as it relates to African American culture. Whatever the thing that we are talking about, um, I have this idea about a lot of what we do in terms of our expression, in terms of Black expression. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, but I think a lot of times it gets reduced to a simplicity and name it, on many different levels. And so it's just like in 1930 it was jazz. In 1920s it was the blues. In 1970s it was hip hop, and so all of these artistic expressions in hindsight, like hip hop is now $1 billion industry, so on and so forth. And so my work really is peeling back the layers of seeing the value from its beginning, really, really understanding that we've been doing this thing and giving gifts to this culture for many years. And I really feel it's one gift. I think it's one gift, and I like to say that it's one organism that just continues to change through space and time. The process now, I'm being a multimedia multidisciplinary artist. I can be all over the place in a good sense, but the work that I did for this show, it's using a process called the cyanotype. The cyanotype is a very old photographic process. It's one of the first photographic processes, and it was invented, 1800 something, but it was how they made early blueprints. And my work is blue, but it's just like that's how architects made blueprints, and it was really one of the first photographic copying technology and how you would do that. So, very old chemical process that you mix these chemicals. It's like a darkroom technique, and then you re-expose them to the sun or UV light, and then you'll get an imprint of the negative that you're making. And so for me, I'm using that cyanotype process, and the whole idea that it was used for blueprints. I'm using that as a conceptual narrative in the piece as well, because it's to quote Jay-Z's blueprint of hip hop, but I'm using it really as a narrative, a conceptual narrative, talking about things that we have made as Black people, like what we've invented and the bare bones of it, showing, like peeling back the curtain and saying like it's this thing, and then we build on top of that. And and there's so many metaphors that I haven't thought about, but when I begin to speak about the work, I'm like, oh yeah. And then there's that, like even the idea of early architects taking a blueprint, making three, and say, go build three buildings just like this. It's on the sheet. In hip hop, it's like the tapes. It's the same thing. This is this pollination of sharing ideas and passing it on, and just the whole idea, even the technology of the cassette. Without the technology of the cassette, how would we share music that wasn't on record yet? It's just like, it's almost, these things that weren't necessarily invented for the thing that they served, but ended up being paramount in the thing that they served. So it's, the microphone, the turntable, like those technologies, I think most likely came out of Japan, but there wasn't someone in a lab saying like, I wonder, Black kids in urban cities, they're gonna love this. It wasn't invented necessarily with us in mind. So I really love that serendipitous kind of creative collision that has birthed this art form.